Welcome back. In the last lesson, we set up our new view controllers, got them all hooked up with their viewcontroller.swift files. And now what we need to do is figure out how we can, when we click on one of these buttons, get the person object over to the correct view controller, okay? So if you recall from our last section, working with collection views and table views and passing data from one view controller to another, that is going to happen here in our select person VC. And I just realized that we actually do not need these IB actions because those are set up manually when we control and dragged from the buttons directly to the view controllers. But what we do need, and let's make sure there aren't any lingering IB outlets or IB actions over here in Storyboard. All right, so I'm going to select the select person VC, right click, and we need to get rid of these as well. Remember, when you delete an IB outlet or IB action from your viewcontroller.swift file, you also need to come in here and do it in Storyboard. All right, back to select person VC. All right, so if you remember our analogy in the last section of how we can get data from one view controller to another, or in other words, one room to another. We talked about if you were in a room and you had a box of pizza and you wanted to take that pizza from one room to the other, but that particular pizza could not go from that room to the other, but there was an empty box on the other side, and you could duplicate, or in other words, make an identical copy of that pizza, and it would go into the pizza box on the other side. And we do that in the method prepare for segue. All right, and this is the function that is called directly before actually segueing to the other side. All right, and what we're going to need is wherever we're going to need an empty pizza box. We're going to need a variable. Okay, so let's start out with homeworld vc.swift. And let's go ahead and create that variable. So we're going to say var person of type person, and we implicitly unwrap it. And then we're going to go back to select person VC. And what we're going to do is we are going to say, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a check on the segue so we know that we're going to the correct one. I'm going to say if segue.identifier is equal to, and then this is the string for the segue identifier that we set here in Storyboard. Let's go ahead and look at that again. So right here, this identifier to homeworld. I'm going to copy that, come back to select person VC, and paste that there. And there we go. So now, whatever code we write in here, we know will be applicable to the segue that is going to the homeworld view controller. Next, we need to get a reference to our destination. So I'm going to say if let destination is equal to segue.destination, and that will return a generic view controller. So we have to cast it as a view controller that we want it to be, which is homeworld VC. So if that works, then we can set destination.person, the empty pizza box on the other side, equal to, and here we're going to need a class variable so that we can set this equal to it. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to, right here under person API, I'm going to say var person of type person. And here under random clicked, we are going to set that person, self.person, is equal to person. All right, so now when we get a person back, we are going to set this variable to that person so that if we then segue to another view controller, we can pass that person into the destination's person variable's value. All right, and that should work. Let's go ahead and check it out in the homeworld VC. We can test that just by saying print, and we'll say person.name. All right, let's test that out and run it. All right, we got Poggle the Lesser. All right, so if we click on home planet, home world, we should see printed out right here, Poggle the Lesser. All right, so we have confirmed that we are passing the person object from our main view controller to our home world view controller. All right, great. So now all we need to do is do that for the other three, okay? So I'm gonna go to vehicles VC, and we're going to create our empty pizza box. I'm going to say person of type person. Save that. Starship's view controller. Create person of type person. Save that. And films VC var person of type person. And save that. All right, so now we can go into select person VC and we can finish off the rest of these segue identifiers. So I'm going to say else if segue dot identifier is equal to, and so the next one is two vehicles. Then we'll say, and we can actually just copy this, paste it here, but this destination is going to be vehicles VC. And then we can just go ahead and copy this part right here, paste it there, and then do one more paste. And then we'll just change the segue identifiers and the view controller class. So this is going to be to starships, and this is going to be to films. And then we can change this to starships VC, and this to films VC. And that should work. Let's go ahead and make sure that we got these segue identifiers correct. Come to the main.storyboard. Okay, so for vehicles, we have two vehicles, two starships, and two films. Okay, looks like those match up. And that should be good to go. Let's go ahead and test those as well. So here in view.did.load, I'm going to say print person dot name. I'm going to copy that. Starships VC, paste that. Films VC, paste that. Save that, and let's run that again. All right, so I'm going to press random. And oh, hey, nice. We got Luke Skywalker, so we'll be able to test all four here. So going to Homeworld, let me move this. We get Luke Skywalker printed out. Good. Vehicles, we get Luke Skywalker printed out. Starships, we get Luke Skywalker printed out. And films, we get Luke Skywalker printed out. All right, so now we know that we are successfully passing our person object to all four of our view controllers. Very good. All right, so let's go back to our select person VC. And even though this works, I think it's a little bit messy with all of these if, else, if statements. So let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit using a switch statement, okay? And I think we should make an enumerator for our segues. So I'm going to say enum segue, and I'm going to set it as type string. And then we can do case homeworld. Homeworld is equal to, and then we're going to put the name of the segue. So this is to homeworld. Oop, gotta spell it right. To homeworld. Then we have case vehicles, and that is equal to vehicles. Then we have case starships, and that is equal to starships. And then we have case films, and that is equal to films. All right, and then going to just do some spacing here, and we are going to do a switch statement, and what we are going to be switching on is the segue.identifier. So we're going to say switch segue.identifier, and then here for our cases, we are going to check on the segue .type.raw value. So if in this case we are getting the home, or I should say a segue dot homeworld dot raw value, then we are going to copy, or I should say cut this part and paste it there. Our next case is segue dot vehicles dot raw value, and we can cut this part, paste that. Then we have case of segue dot starships dot raw value, and we can cut from here, and then we can say case segue dot the last one, which is films dot raw value, and we can cut from here. And if none of those match, then we're just going to say break. All right, and then we can get rid of this right here. There we go. And I think that is a little bit cleaner. It might be a little bit more code, but as you added more segues, you could just add more cases and then quickly throw in the case here. All right, so let's go ahead and run that, make sure everything is still working as expected. Press random. All right, let's see if we can get someone that has, this should be enough. We can test on these three. We have Dooku, Dooku, and Dooku. All right, so everything is still working as expected. All right, so this is fine, but there's actually an even better way of doing this. And you might hate me, but we are actually going to comment out all of this switch statement and even this enumerator that we just made. All right, so the problem here is that we have 4 different types of view controller that we have to cast to make sure that we are setting the person in the correct place. But what if there was a way to make them all have a specific type with a single value? Well, we can actually do that with a protocol, okay? So we've talked a lot about protocols and delegates, and we know that protocols are kind of like a set of instructions that you have to follow. And mostly we've been using that for methods, for functions. However, you can also use them for properties to say that whatever class is conforming to that protocol has to implement a specific property, okay? So we can make a protocol that has a person property and then have all 4 of our view controllers conform to that protocol, and then we can just do a single cast to that protocol. It doesn't have to be the actual view controller class. We can cast it to the protocol that it conforms to. Okay, so this is going to be pretty cool. So we're just going to write out protocol, and I'm going to name it person protocol. And the way to say that a class that conforms to this protocol has to implement a particular variable or property is to say var person, and then we say person. And then the only thing that's different is we have to say get set. Okay, so it has to have the getters and setters specified here in the protocol. All right, so I'm going to save this. Then we're going to go to the homeworld VC. We're going to, just to illustrate this, I'm going to comment out the person here, and then I'm going to conform to person protocol, and we'll get that error saying that we need to actually conform to it. Right here it says type homeworld does not conform to protocol. Do you want to add protocol stubs? Yes, and you'll see that it added right here the property that we need to conform to, which is the same as what we already had. But I just wanted to show you that because all we're going to do in the other ones is simply add the protocol, since we already have the variable that it would add anyways. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Starships VC. Save that. Films VC. Save that. All right, so now all 4 of our view controllers conform to this protocol. Okay, so what we can do here in select person VC is we can say if var destination is equal to segue.destination. So this is pretty much what we've done in the past, but instead of casting it to a specific view controller, we're going to cast it as person protocol. And then we can say destination.person, and this is the property of the person protocol. And we can set that equal to person. All right, and that's it. And we can do this because we know that all of the view controllers are being segued to a view controller that conforms to person protocol. If we had, say for instance, we introduced a new view controller that had nothing to do with like the person, needing the person and it didn't conform to protocol, then we would still need to do a check on the segue identifiers. But for right now, since we know that any segue that comes from this view controller is going to one of these view controllers that conform to person protocol, we don't need to really do a check on the segue identifier. And that's it. Let's go ahead and run this and test it out. All right, we got Poe here, so I'm gonna click on film and we have, or Homeworld, and we have it printed out. Click on Starship, printing it out. Click on Films and it's printing it out. All right, so that looks like that is working. And look at how much code we were able to eliminate. All right, so that is a pretty nifty trick. So if you find yourself in a situation where we were before, where you have a whole bunch of view controllers that need the same thing and you're doing a whole bunch of either if else's or switch statements, then just go ahead and put that thing that you need in a protocol and have all of your view controllers conform to that protocol. All right, so hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one where we start parsing some new data from the Swappy API. I'll see you then.